The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
We were talking about the NBA playoffs, and now we're going to transition to the NBA team in Chicago that is kind of all over the place, the Chicago Bulls. We heard a few weeks ago, what John Paxson and Gar Forman had to say about the team, and as you could expect, it was sort of the same yada, yada, yada stuff.
The same, we think fans aren't very smart, so we're going to try to pass this along. See, I watched the press conference because I wanted to hear all the BS they'd be saying. And
right.
I was turned off the moment it started when John Paxson, or I forget who it was, either Paxson or Foreman said, Fred is our coach.
He's definitely
You have the worst
coach
in the NBA, and he's going to continue?
Right. It's certainly, well, I guess you can give them that they're sticking to their guy and they're not going to give up hope just yet after a second season. But, there's a lot of...
He's not their guy. He's Gar Forman's best friend. He's not the guy. He's a best friend, former Bulls player, and they like him because he does what they say.
Right, yeah.
And then they think that they could just make him look bad by never talking to the media.
Now, of course, there's a couple interesting things that are going to happen this summer.
They also said they want to bring back Mirotic.
Yeah, well, at this point, I don't really care what they do. At this point, it's sort of
whatever they do is going to be the wrong move, most likely.
The big question mark is Wade going to be back? Does he want to be back? Because he'll have a lot of money waiting for him.
My guess is no, and he's going to stay just because he wants the money.
Yeah, I don't think he's that desperate to bring a title back to Chicago. I just think he kind of wants to end his playing career.
He was when he signed here, and then he realized what a nightmare it was. That Hoiberg doesn't have a roster that fits his style, so the roster's inconsistent, and Gar Forman has not assembled a good roster.
He's got to regret not staying with Miami with their nice young talent and a good coach.
Well, they wouldn't give him the money he wanted. They lowballed him and he left.
I know, but at this point, would you rather just have stayed in Miami, sign for whatever money? I know that Pat Riley really didn't treat him too well, but I would have stayed there if I was him. And of course, there's the other question with Rondo. I know they expect Rondo to be back, and Rondo was pretty good last year when he was playing and when he wasn't sitting on the bench for no really good reason from Hoiberg.
See, that's the thing. A guy that was a key signing in the offseason was treated very poorly by the coaching staff. He wasn't just treated bad; he was treated so poorly and disrespectfully.
Yeah, I know, and he's the best point guard that they have. Who are you going to have out there? Michael Carter-Williams, Jaren Grant.
Michael Carter-Williams should not be Grant or should not be back. Isaiah Cannon should not be back.
Isaiah Cannon.
Cameron Payne should not be back, except Gar Forman and John Paxson traded
but they
a
like
draft
him.
pick. They traded a draft pick to get him. They traded
love
Doug
Cameron
McDermott.
Payne.
They traded Taj Gibson. And, that should kind of be a red flag if that Gar Forman said he was very high on their draft board in that draft.
What makes me mad is they did so much in the draft to get Doug McDermott, and then they just trade him away for Cameron Payne, Joffrey Laverne.
They just kind of gave him away. Yeah, they gave up 5 draft picks to get Doug McDermott.
I know. Doug McDermott could have been a Denver Nugget. But he ended up, coming to the Bulls with all the maneuvering that they did, and then he plays like a season and a half and was out a lot at the beginning of this season with that concussion. And now he's gone. Now he's with Oklahoma City. And he'll probably be doing pretty well there.
Yeah, he definitely has opportunities to hit open threes.
I was okay with trading Taj maybe, because if you were really going to rebuild, Taj would be a good trade piece. But
they traded a draft pick with them.
Yeah, well, that was the other thing. And you get these 2 schlubs, Joffrey Laverne and who's the other guy that they got in the...
Anthony Morrow. When he played, though, he shot the ball well.
Right.
And he fits Fred Hoiberg's defense is optional policy.
That's true. Well, and what's interesting is I think we talked about Anthony Morrow for his career was shooting like 40% from the 3-point line, and he shot like 28% this year.
Oh yeah,
because
you said he like changed his shooting style,
something like that. Yeah,
I'd like to see the Bulls re-sign him because he can shoot and he can make threes, and they were the worst 3-point shooting team this year.
Certainly better than Michael Carter-Williams,
Nikola Mirotic
/ Jerry
Why
Grant
is Mirotic's
/
name,
Isaiah Cannon.
Why is Mirotic's nickname Threecola? He can't hit threes, and they act like that's the kind of name you give to a guy that shoots like Kyle Korver or Steph Curry,
right?
Not a guy that shoots 33% for 3-pointers. And I remember there was one game they like run the fast-paced offense like in the transition, and then 6 straight times they passed it to Mirotic and he'd miss the 3.
Yeah,
just the fast-paced offense. Then they'd give it to him on the run. He'd shoot the 3. He'd miss.
What's interesting is
and they keep doing it when he keeps missing.
Well, what's interesting,
and they want to bring him back.
He misses like those open threes, and then he makes like the Gardner ones. It makes no sense.
Like though he makes some of the ones that he shouldn't even be taking.
Right, like that one a few years ago that Bulls Knicks game I was at where he shot it from almost half court and it went in. Ridiculous, and then can't make other threes.
All right, yeah. So enough. We know that the Bulls front office has made some mistakes and that they're under hot water with the fans.
No kidding.
No one seems to. No one, on top of them, said that seems to care. And then they said like the hierarchy is the same as when Gar Forman was promoted to general manager. And I think that's what are they going to do in the offseason? Will Jimmy Butler be traded?
Well, that's going to be the interesting thing.
Will Dwayne Wade be back? Are they going to re-sign Nikola Mirotic?
I don't know.
Here's the thing.
That's the thing. They don't give us anything, so it's all speculation.
It makes you wonder if they even know what they're going to do. And John Pax,
they don't.
I forget, it was either John or Gar said the opportunity to rebuild has to present itself. And I was just thinking,
well, they said they were open to a Jimmy Butler trade if the price was right, if they were getting really good stuff in return. Didn't they not? I think
the
only
way I could see them trading Jimmy Butler is if it includes the Brooklyn pick from Boston. And it doesn't sound like they want to trade it, even though whatever guy they get with that pick will be sitting on the bench behind Isaiah Thomas, because the top 3 prospects are all point guards.
True.
And
I got Markelle Fultz from Washington and Lonzo Ball. And
his dad was like telling the Celtics not to take his son. Because,
I know. Oh, my God. It would be so funny because he wants him to play for the Lakers.
I think it would be hilarious if the Lakers pass on him.
I think it would be great.
And he said his son,
I hope Magic does that.
He said his son will only work out for the Lakers. I mean, LeVar Ball is a story for another segment.
For another universe.
Oh, my. Yeah.
$3
billion for his big baller brand shoes when 2 of his sons aren't even projected to be NBA players.
Low quality gym shoes. No one even knows if they're good or not.
$500.
Right. Here you go. Stick with the Nikes.
Yeah, anyways, I was looking at the free agent list, who could be available. And I was thinking, Chris Paul is a free agent. That would be the kind of signing that could push them, or they could, I feel like Chris Paul would fit Fred Hoiberg's offense well. He can pass, he can drive, he can shoot.
Yeah, I think
he'd fit well with Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler.
It makes sense. I think he wants out of LA, so that
I feel like the Clippers are breaking up.
You can't win with the Clippers. That's the problem because you have San Antonio and Golden State in your way every single year. Where there's a little more parity in the Eastern Conference besides Cleveland.
See, I just feel like that team is breaking up. I think Chris Paul's going to leave, and I think the Bulls should take a look at him because Rajon Rondo is not the starting point guard on a team that's going to be competing.
Right.
And Rajon Rondo's a good player, and he showed his value last year. It's just
he's a perfect sixth man, the way that he can run the team while the guy's taking a rest. Yeah.
I feel like Chris Paul would be a great point guard to pair with Jimmy Butler and Dwayne Wade.
I would agree with that. I don't know if he wants to be with the Bulls. But,
I don't know if the Bulls would be able to pitch to him because for whatever reason they can't sign good free agents.
Or afford him. I mean, can they even afford him? I'm not even sure.
What contracts are going to be? I mean, they got Wade at $23 million. Jimmy Butler's probably making $20 million. Rondo's making, I think, 15.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't see why they can't because the salary cap keeps going up, and the Bulls didn't really spend much last offseason. And Gar Forman had been stressing the importance of all the cap room that they'll have to spend on players.
Right.
He kept stressing they'll have so much. Well, now's the time to use it. There's going to be some good free agents, and there's some that'll fit your team, like Chris Paul.
Yeah.
And I guarantee...
Are they going to do that, or are they going to rebuild? That'll be the big question.
They're not going to rebuild. And
they'll never do
that.
Is
like, can they pitch enough to a free agent to get him to come here? Because they haven't been able to pitch to anybody.
No, yeah, every time they pitch to LeBron or Carmelo, it always backfired, obviously. So,
I mean, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade the first time. I mean, it seems like every time they try to sign like that big free agents, they never can get them.
Yeah, well, maybe now's the time.
Now's the time. There's going to be the opportunity to improve this roster, and they could actually put together a good roster that could win more games next year.
Yeah, I mean, and if they had a competent coach, and if they didn't sit Rondo, they probably would have been a 4 to 5 seed this year as it is. So, yeah, I agree with that. We're going to take a break. We'll come back, and we'll talk about the Cubs and MLB to wrap up the show. You're listening to the Sports Renegades on SportsTownChicago.com. The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.